The agenda for tonight is we'll have some intro slides on just some basic high-level information about tenting and fumigation. We actually have a homeowner who just went through tenting, which is part of our roof pilot project that started this month. Toby Spencer from Accurate Termite is going to be our second speaker. And he is going to present an overview and talk through the tenting and fumigation method that will be used. Ozzy Camacho from Accurate Termite, who is our project manager, and he's going to talk about more the nuts and bolts on the tenting and fumigation and what to expect. And then finally, we'll have time for questions and answers. So just a few intro slides here, notes on tenting. So the last time we have tented before, and that was back in 2007. Our HOA really is overdue, as most experts have been recommending that we should be tenting once every 10 to 15 years. And due to our unique and beautiful architecture, we do have a lot of wood in our buildings. And I mean, I'm sure you're aware, we've got wood railings and spindles for the balconies and stack home stairwells, wood siding, the exposed support beams, rafter tails, the exaggerated roof eaves, and the exposed shiplap, and then also all the crawl spaces in our homes, as well as the wood that's inside our drywall. Tenting will help reduce our termite repair costs, which have been increasing in recent years. I know Cynthia, our treasurer, says we spent over $14,000 just within the past year just on termites, and treatments. It's unknown how much termite damage will be uncovered when our old shingle roofs are peeled off. And tenting is common in other neighboring HOA condo communities, especially ones like ours that are over 45 years. For instance, the Villas, which is the HOA next to the RCI tennis club, they tented 8 years ago in 2014. And then Vista at San Joaquin, which is our sister HOA community down the street, they tented in 2006 or 7. And one of the board members I spoke with says they're overdue. So this is just in 2007. I mean, when you don't treat for termites, when you don't repair, I mean, this is back in 2007 when we had the big special assessment, the 24,700, but these are just photos that were taken back then 15 years ago. So tenting will occur shortly before each of our buildings are re-roofed. You should check the roof project schedule on our project webpage. We've got a little bit.ly short address here. You can type in your browser to get to it, and you can see when your building will be re-roofed. And this will be covered in detail here shortly, but you're going to receive a formal paper notice from Accurate Termite about 30 days out from when you are going to be tenting on the exact dates. And there's going to be a scheduled Zoom meeting just for your building on what to go, that Ozzy will go over and what to do. Balconies and stack home stairwells, including the fire escapes, will be part of the tenting. The stack garage buildings will also be tented. The tenting schedule right now for the stack garages is still to be determined. The same for our pool facility buildings, they too will be tented. Again, the schedule is still TBD. And then we did obtain a room rate discount at a nearby hotel that does accept pets as an option for those that need it. And that's because the tenting will require 3 days and 2 nights for us to be out of our homes. Again, just visit our project schedule webpage, and there's details on the hotel discount. And then finally, we are starting to accumulate some tenting FAQs, so I just went ahead and put up some ones that we've already received. And then what items in the home don't need to be prepared before fumigation. And so basically the general rule is anything that's not edible that you can't eat. These are items can be left as is during fumigation. And so things, obviously, furniture, artwork, towels and linens, personal hygiene products and cosmetics, clothes and shoes, dishes, utensils, anything in the kitchen, books and papers, computers, anything in the garage is not edible. And then there are some edible items that you don't need to bag or prepare for fumigation. And again, these can be left as is. And those are canned goods, canned soda and beer, bottled water, food and drink items in the original sealed glass containers like bottled wine and beer, pasta sauces. And then another question we've been getting is, can I leave my cars in the garage during fumigation? And the answer is yes, but Ozzy will explain, the car doors have to be unlocked because they have to do these state required inspections. And then finally, how can I securely leave my house key for accurate termite for the required home inspection? And this is my personal answer. My husband and I, we intend to go down to Home Depot, purchase a lockbox. They're about 35 bucks, and then attach it to the front door handle. And then you can set up a combination lock for it. And then all I'm going to do at least is give the combination to Accurate when they need access to my home. More on all of this is from our speakers from Accurate. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our, oh shoot, I forgot to put in Z, Shimahara. So let me back up here. I'm going to stop sharing. And then let me go ahead and Z, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself. And I am going to go ahead and spotlight you. So I'm introducing Z Shimahara. She is one of our fellow homeowners here in RSJ. She just went through tenting with her neighbors because she is part of our pilot roof project. So Z, if you wanted to speak for a moment and share your experiences.
Well, since you just mentioned the lockbox, that's what we got. Got on Amazon, super easy, works great. Put our keys in there, good to go. So I think the main thing was I'm a little bit funny about chemicals. So I was like, oh, we should take this and we should take that, and make sure you've got everything. I think the best way to go about it is, if you're uncomfortable, take what you got to take. I did end up taking like my pillow because I thought, oh, I'm super sensitive and I need my pillow. So I did take my pillow. As far as the bagging goes, what we did is we put our stuff into, the fabric bags that you take to the store. Mm-hmm. So we just did putting the fridge food into that, then put it into the first bag, push the air out, did the twisty, then put it into the second. It actually was way easier than we thought it was going to be. You do learn very quickly to leave quite a bit of room at the top of the bag to be able to make the twists happen. And we had a bag of rubber bands to use at the top. That made it super easy. I think we had maybe 11 full sets. So 22 bags were in our little stack. We ended up only making a total of 7 bags, so only using up 14 bags total. We did one for the fridge, one for the freezer. We did one for each bathroom. That way, when we unpacked, it made it super easy to unpack them. I can say go through the house several times, because every time I thought I was done with something, I'd be like, oh, mouthwash, totally forgot about mouthwash. And because different people were doing different sections, I went into the pantry and it was like, oh, somebody forgot a ketchup. They obviously thought it was a glass bottle, but it was a plastic bottle. So just double checking is kind of what we did. Another thing is, when we got back, I was like, okay, is there going to be a smell? There is a smell, but it's not a chemical smell. It's like almost smells like bubble gum. And I think it's the plastic that they pull off the house, because when we were coming back, the man was walking around with a little meter that shows there's no gas in the house. So it's not the gas. You will find every cabinet open and every drawer open like you have a poltergeist, but that's all part of the process. I do have quite a bit of fine art. Everything was fine. I checked the dishes. There was no residue. It actually was way easier than I thought the whole process was going to be.
That plastic smell, how long did, when you guys came home, I'm assuming you opened up all the windows and aired out
Yes.
it?
Yeah, we opened everything up and kind of kept the air flowing through. Truthfully, I don't know that I noticed it the next morning. The day we
Okay.
got back, I did notice it, but not the next day. You know, you just kind of quickly, it's all gone.
Okay. Thank you, Z. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay. Let me go ahead and, okay, so let me go back to our slide here and, okay, so I didn't have an intro slide for Z, but I do have one for Toby. So Toby Spencer is the Orange County Regional Director for Accurate Termite and Pest Control. And he's going to give a overview of the fumigation method. So Toby?
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mari. Yeah, so yeah, fumigation. So fumigation for drywood termites it's an all-encompassing method of treatment where, you know, we've all seen it. The tarpaulins go over the building. We introduce a gas called Vicane gas or fluorofluoride. Vicane is a clean, colorless, odorless gas, which leaves no residue. Just like Z said, there's no, you know, it's not necessary to come back home and wash all your dishes, you know, clean the upholstery, your flooring, all that stuff. The environment that you left will be the same when you get home. So, you know, outside of that, the tarpaulin smell, some people do sometimes smell that when they come back, but again, Vicane has no odor. It's an odorless product, so you're certainly not going to smell that. And we do take those air samples when we get back. So the legal threshold is that must be met before we can clear a building or a unit is 1 part per million. But we like to reach that 0 threshold before we clear buildings. So so yeah, it's very consumer friendly. There's over 2,000 applications done in the US every day. And that's been happening for 20, 30 years. Vicane has been on the market for about 60 years, so its track record is long and its safety track record is unsurpassed. I mean, with this many units being fumigated, or this many homes being fumigated every single day for that long of a period of time is a great thing to see, that we have so few problems with the process. So in general, like Z mentioned, there is some, prep. It is a bit more invasive than say localized treatments, in that you do need to remove people, of course, pets, and plants. Most everything else in the house can remain in the house. And as I mentioned, no need to wash or clean stuff when you get back. So so another big question is, like, so we do have these other options, right? And Rancho San Joaquin certainly has been implementing treatment programs for all these years in between fumigations, using different products such as Termidor, or maybe orange oil, or maybe heat treatments, that, they're effective. They're great when we have physical access to the termite infestations, when we know we can get product to all the places we need to get it to. But at some point, the termites get into, all these different places, a lot of the places we can see, but a lot of places that we can't see. And products such as Termidor is probably the best liquid termiticide that we have on the market. It's effective. It's 100% for termite that comes in contact with the product. It's gonna die. Orange oil, another very popular product. It doesn't have the efficacy that we get from Termidor, but also something that is often used for localized treatments. But it's got its limitations, right? So once the termites begin to make their way into the structure, the wood framing in our homes here, we just don't have access to about 90% of the the wood. All these areas where infestations occur. Ideally, you want to be able to eliminate all the termites in a structure. So, as long as the idea is to, at some point, your termites begin to build up over time. You start with a few colonies, and over time they do build up and swarm every year, and begin to get into places that we can't access. And once it becomes unacceptable to do these local treatments, and only get treatment to, if we're being optimistic, we'll just say 25% of the termite infestations. After 10, 15 years, that's just not an acceptable method of treatment. You're just not getting the efficacy that you need. So at some point, buildings need to get fumigated, and in California, it tends to be around every 10 years or so. And that method is to cover the entire structure, introduce the gas. The gas permeates throughout the structure, and we get 100% kill throughout the structure. So we're really quite fortunate to have this method of treatment where we can ensure that every structure is termite free, from drywood termites, once this has been completed. And then just to go over the process, so it's a 2-night, 3-day process. You would need to leave day 1 in the morning, sleep somewhere the first night, second night, and return back on the third day. And in the nutshell, that's what we're looking at, Mari.
Okay. Can you, for spot treatments, somebody sometimes refer to them as the Swiss cheese method, and that it's my understanding for things like orange oil, you actually have to drill holes in the structure to apply the spot treatment. So can you confirm that, or speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so termites, in order to kill these insects, is you got to get the product to the insect, right? So the limitations with a localized treatment is, in order to get to it, you do need to drill into the wood and inject a termiticide into the wood, right? So just spraying the surface of a wood member that has termites in it does nothing to eliminate the termites inside. So that's another limitation to it, is if it's great for portions of the, let's just say, a rafter tail that extends out from a roof, we can treat that rafter tail end, but once it goes back up into the roof, now it's become inaccessible, and then you're limited to only treating that exposed part of the wood member.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Well, let me go ahead and go on to our next speaker here. Thanks, Toby.
You're welcome.
Okay. So the meat of the presentation is going to be by Ozzy Camacho. He is our project leader, project manager for the fumigation project here. And he'll talk about, basically, I refer to the nuts and bolts on the tenting and what to expect. But let me go ahead and stop sharing, and then let me go ahead and put, okay, Ozzy, do you want me to did you want to say some intro words, or do you want me to dive right into the 11-minute video?
No, just wanted to tell Z you would have been totally fine leaving that mouthwash out because it's not considered edible. And yeah,
okay.
So we don't, I mean, some people might go for it for fun, but we don't consider it to be edible.
Okay, good to know.
Now, as far as the smell goes, don't be shocked if you have a neighbor that really loves tacos, such as myself. So if my building were to get fumigated and it always smells like tacos in my house, my neighbor's house is probably going to smell like tacos when they get back, because that whole tent makes it to where everybody in the building is sharing the exact same air. It gets circulated throughout the whole place. So if you got one really great smelling neighbor, everyone else is going to smell so great when you come home. But that's essentially it.
Okay. All right. So Ozzy has asked me to, he's made a quick 11-minute video just for our community. So I'm going to go ahead and get that. And then Ozzy will have some remaining remarks to make. So let me go ahead and do that and go ahead and play.
So now you are wondering, what do you have to do for the upcoming fumigation? There's tons of questions that you probably have by now. This video is going to guide you through the overall general process of your fumigation coming up. Now, we don't exactly know yet your guys' dates, but this video will give you the overall process of what's coming, so you're not totally blindsided by the time you get the initial notice letter. This video is not meant to give you all the specific instructions that you're going to need for your upcoming fumigation, but it's to give you a broad overview of what to expect for when you are in fact scheduled for fumigation. So the first thing that you're gonna see when you know you're being scheduled for fumigation is gonna be a 30-day notice letter posted either to your front door, your garage, or it's gonna be sent to you by mail by your community management. And that's gonna be your trigger to know that you should start getting ready for this fumigation and making your accommodations. Now, for those of you wondering why only 30 days notice, and the answer is because California Civil Code 4785 has mandated that by law only 30 days be given for notifying anybody of a fumigation in an HOA. No minimum than 15 days, but we want to give you as much notice as we can legally give you, which is 30 days. The notice letter looks pretty much exactly like the one you see on the screen right there. At the top of that page, the first thing highlighted is going to be your fumigation dates, the day you should be leaving the house, and the day you should be expecting to return home after the fumigation is over. This letter, as you can see, has a whole lot of information that you're going to want to see, and I do encourage you to read all the way through it when you give yourself the time to do so. But the second most important thing on this fumigation notice letter is going to be your guys' fumigation website, which is where you'll be doing the check-in process. The check-in process is actually quite simple, and you'll do so by going onto hoafumigation.info/Rancho San Joaquin, and it'll take you to this website right here, which was designed specifically for your guys' community. And the check-in process only takes about less than 30 seconds, and you'll start right where you see the first thing on the screen is going to be a little info sheet. You're going to want to start here by just typing in basic information: name, phone number, email address, either for you or for you and a roommate or whoever, but we only need one person per unit to check in. If more than one person wants to do so, excellent, they are more than welcome. But all we need is at least one person to check in with their email address, because that's what we're going to be using to communicate with you throughout the project. Once you have completed the check-in form, you're just going to click the red button that says email me my form, and then obviously then it'll trigger a response or an end screen that says that you should probably check your email now, because that's where you're going to be sent your occupant's fumigation notice form. Submitting the occupant's fumigation notice form is just as easy as the check-in process, and you'll start by checking your email inbox, where you're going to see a message from one of us with a link unique to you guys, and it's going to look something like this that you see on the screen. You'll just click on the orange button that says open the document, and it's going to take you to the actual form itself. Now, this is pre-filled out with the information that you put in on the check-in form. So if you're looking at this and it has the incorrect address, or your name is misspelled, or the phone number is incorrect, that's because you might have made the mistake of doing it incorrectly on the check-in form. And then you can just go back, check in again with the correct information, and you'll be sent another one of these forms so that you can have the correct information filled out. There is 2 pages, just a few acknowledgments on the first page, initials and signature and date on the bottom of the first page, as well as on the back page. And the most important part, please don't forget it, is going to be to go back up to the top of the screen and hit the finish button. If you don't hit that finish button, we will never receive your forms, and then you are not counted as compliant for the fumigation. So that's the entire check-in process. Check in on the website, fill out your fumigation notice form, and then you're pretty much ready to start preparing your unit for fumigation. Once you have done all of that, then you can go ahead and start getting your unit ready for fumigation, start packing up, make your accommodations, if whether you're going to stay at a hotel or with a friend, not sure what you're going to do. The most important thing you can do besides providing access, which I'll cover in just a little bit, is making sure that all your food is properly double bagged using only the NiloFume bags that we will provide to you guys. Any other bags are not accepted by the state of California. It is a law that only NiloFume bags be used for food storage during fumigation, and we'll make sure that you guys have plenty, but be sure that you follow this instruction carefully, because this is what causes the most common delays that we see in any fumigation. And delays in your unit could mean delays for everybody else in the building that you're living in. So if you're living in a 9-unit building and one unit causes enough delays, that means those other 8 neighbors are having to stay out additional time because one of the residents wasn't properly ready. And the most common delay is going to be failure to properly double bag their food items. So for those of you already wondering, what you have to be double bagging is anything considered edible: food items, supplements, medication, whether it's prescription or non-prescription medication, dog food, baby food, candy, coffee pods, tea bags, ingredients like salt, pepper, oregano, oils, anything that you are ever going to consume orally or intravenously like insulin should be double bagged in the nylon fume bags that we will provide you guys. No other bags are accepted. If not properly double bagged, the fumigators will have to throw out the food for you in preparation for the fumigation, making sure that we are on schedule for everybody else involved. No reimbursements will be made for anything that was not properly double bagged but should have been. Those nylon fume bags are going to be delivered to your doorstep somewhere around 15 calendar days before your scheduled fumigation. You don't have to be home to receive them. We're just going to drop them off at your doorstep like an Amazon package. The second most important thing you should be doing on the day of fumigation is making sure that we have proper access for preliminary safety inspections, and we're also going to need access for final inspections before we can release the building back to you guys, making sure that there's no lingering fumigant behind. Now you have a few options on providing access to your guys' home. You can leave your key in a lockbox at the door and you can provide us with that lockbox code ahead of time, or if you have an electronic lock on the door, you can simply give us a code that you designate for us to use on the days of fumigation, or you can just do the old-fashioned leave a key under the mat on fumigation day. Now, house keys are the only keys that we will accept from you guys in regards to the fumigation. So if you're leaving a vehicle in the garage during fumigation, it just has to stay unlocked, or just remove it altogether from the building. And if you have any storage compartments like the ones you see on the screen, or any storage closets, just make sure that those are unlocked. We cannot accept car keys or storage keys. So let's say that there's one person who failed to properly provide access on fumigation day. What do we do about it? Well, we have to get a locksmith at that resident's expense, or we would have to destroy the locks to that door, and we can't reimburse anybody for any locksmith fees associated with that, or any damages associated with having to gain access that way. So best is to just make sure that we have access, so we're not having to deal with all of that. Now, getting your key back after the fumigation is over, if you left the key under the mat, we're simply going to leave it on the kitchen counter or by the stove as close as we can get it once the fumigation is over, and we will lock the door behind us on the way out. So then once we finish up and we lock the door with the key inside, we no longer have access. So make sure if you did leave a key under the mat that it is a spare key. Otherwise, that means you are now locked out of the house. Now, if you left your key in a lockbox, we'll put your key back in that same lockbox and you can retrieve it from there as you please. If you want to leave a vehicle in the garage during the fumigation, that is absolutely fine, but as I mentioned already, it has to remain accessible for the same safety inspections that we will do for the rest of the house. We have to also make sure that we can properly ventilate the vehicle, making sure that there's no lingering gas inside of the vehicle. We have to make sure that we can properly ventilate your vehicle so you're not coming back to a vehicle full of Vicane gas, which could be very harmful. If we come across any vehicles in the building that we can't properly access for safety inspections and ventilation, then we will have to tow that vehicle out at the owner's expense. We don't know where that vehicle is going, and like I said earlier, we wouldn't be able to remove it for you even if we know where the keys are. We simply just cannot do that. So make sure that either leave access to your vehicle by leaving it unlocked with the windows down, or remove it altogether. And the last thing you should be doing to get ready for the fumigation is removing any crib mattresses that you have in the house, or any baby mattresses. And that's the only mattress that you have to worry about. Everything else can stay in the house exactly as it is. Those Tempur-Pedic sleep number beds or memory foam beds, all of that can stay. It's only by law that baby mattresses have to be out altogether. Before you know it, fumigation day will roll around pretty quickly, and we want to make sure that we can start on time by having you guys leave on time, which is going to be as early as 8 o'clock in the morning on fumigation day. It could possibly be later than that, but we'll let you guys know in an email the night before of a more specified time frame of the crew's arrival. But just in case if we start off early in the day, be ready to leave at 8 o'clock in the morning with no delay. But before taking off, be sure to just turn off your air conditioning units or your heating units, because we want to make sure that those appliances aren't running when there's not the normal airflow within the building as there normally would be without those tents. So just make sure that you turn them off before you leave, before the fumigation starts. Otherwise, the fumigators are just going to unplug it from the outside and they're not going to plug them back in. If any problems arise with those appliances after the fumigation is over, you'd have to call in an HVAC tech to fix the issue. Another legal requirement for fumigation day is that we also have to be able to inspect the contents of a large safe. It doesn't even have to be as large as the one you see on screen, but we have to make sure that there is no food items or medicine in there, which seems to be the biggest thing that we find, or the most common thing that we find within safes on fumigation day. And by law, we have to make sure that we can also completely ventilate the gas out of that safe, so you're not coming home to a safe full of gas. Now, if we run into a safe somewhere within the building that we can't properly inspect, we could potentially have to cancel that entire building altogether. So just make sure you're not the neighbor that's having your residents vacate for no reason at all. If we come across any safes that we can't properly inspect and ventilate, then we have to cancel the fumigation altogether. So that's the general overview of what to expect for when your building is scheduled for fumigation, but until then you can completely ignore us altogether. This video was only meant to show you what you can be expecting moving forward once you in fact get that 30-day notice letter. We look forward to helping you through a successful fumigation, and if you need us in between for any other service, we're more than happy to help. Just reach out to us and one of our representatives will set you up. Thank you for watching, and thank you for choosing Accurate.
Okay, and this video, if you want to watch a replay of it, is posted on our roof project webpage. So if you come even just to our HOA, Rancho San Joaquin HOA.com website, click on the RSJ roof project, that'll lead you to the project webpage. And then if you scroll down, you'll see watch a short video on tenting fumigation process. And then here is the link, and you can watch that same video that we just played. Okay, so let me go ahead and pass the baton back to Ozzy, and if you wanted to make any follow-up comments.
Sure. So there's going to be more information to come. We're going to cover a lot more detail when you are ready to be fumigated. And the way you'll know if you're scheduled for fumigation is if you get that notice letter. If you never get that letter, then you don't have to worry about any of this. That video is just more of a heads up, so you're not completely caught off guard by the time you do get the letter, and you kind of already know what to start doing once you see that on your door or on your garage or wherever you find it. But if you don't have that at all, you can just move on your daily living routine and ignore it altogether. I do want to set up a separate video that's going to give you more detailed instructions. A lot of it's going to cover what you just saw, and what we're going to ask of you is actually going to be a lot less for you to do than if you were living in a single family home. So it's actually a lot easier to partake in fumigation in a multifamily building, because single family homeowners have to do a little bit more preparation, because it's mostly they're setting up not just for the fumigation itself, but for the convenience of the crews showing up to do their tenting. But for you guys, we're not going to ask you to do any of the convenience stuff for us. We're going to do that for ourselves. All that we're going to ask of you guys is going to be the strict legal requirements that we can't skip around. There's lots of things that I wish we could skip around, because it would make our jobs a lot easier, but we want to make sure that we do everything according to the law, and we'll make sure that you have all the information that you need setting up for that. But that's pretty much it. If there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and have Toby and Ozzy here, and let me go back to our slides. And so this brings up our last part of our town hall is Q&A. So basically, if you want to ask a question, click on the chat icon, and I will turn on the chat. So hold on once I stop sharing here. And then you can type in your question and we'll read it out loud. So let me go ahead and stop this. And then let me go ahead and turn on the chat for people. Okay, and we already did get a few questions that were submitted early. So while people are typing in any questions they might have, Ozzy or Toby, let me go ahead and read off some of these questions. We have a couple of, one homeowner asked, we have a couple of carbon monoxide detectors in our home. One's upstairs and one is downstairs. Do we need to disconnect them or take them with us before tenting?
Carbon monoxide detectors can stay exactly where they are. You don't need to do anything special with those.
Okay. What about items in our bathroom, such as aspirin and other medications, mouthwash, toothpaste? These aren't really edible, but do I need to bag these in those nylon fume bags?
So yes, the medication is considered edible. That aspirin, other pills that you might have in the house in the medicine cabinet, those are considered edible. So they would have to be removed or double bagged in the nylon fume bags. But cosmetic and hygiene products like mouthwash is considered a hygiene product, and so is toothpaste. So you don't have to double bag those items because you're not supposed to be eating those items anyway. That's not what they were created for. General rule of thumb I like to give people is that if it comes in some sort of packaging and there's a nutritional label on the packaging, then we would consider that to be edible, and that would have to be double bagged. So because there's no protein amounts given in toothpaste because you're not supposed to be eating it in the first place, you don't have to worry about that stuff. Same goes for eye drops, lotions, shampoo, things that go on your body, on your skin, even in your mouth, like toothpaste, lipstick that goes on your lips is not considered edible. You don't have to double bag that. So that's going to save you a lot of time and energy.
Okay. I understand people need to take their pets with them when they leave their home, but what about fish aquariums?
Yes. So we do encourage everybody to take the fish with you. You don't have to empty out the aquarium. You don't have to drain out the water. The water can stay. And we do strongly encourage everybody to take their fish. There is the option of leaving them behind with a signed waiver, which we would rather you much just better safe than sorry, take the fish with you whenever you can.
Okay.
And if that's the case, those homeowners should reach out to us.
Okay. What about potted plants inside the home or outside on my balcony or patio? Also, can I leave my patio furniture where it is on my balcony and patio?
So we expect to tent every single balcony and patio within the community whenever we do a fumigation. Now, it's going to depend mostly on what the patio furniture is, whether it's an umbrella or a heat lamp or one thing or another. But generally speaking, I would prefer to move things out of the patio. If I can get all of that stuff into the house as much as possible, that would be the best place for them. So there's less likelihood of them sustaining damage during the fumigation.
Okay, and then I did get one by email. If you can talk a little bit about the gas company. So will the gas company be here to turn on our gas and check the pilot lights when termiting, the tenting is done?
Yes, so we are setting up the shut-off appointment for each resident when they're scheduled for fumigation. We're having the gas company go out and turn off the meter from outside of the building, and that's going to take them less than half an hour to do so when the tents go up. And then once the fumigation is over, those residents are expected back home as early as noon to wait for the gas company because they need to go inside of the house because now they're going to have to check the gas lines just to make sure that there's no leaks. All those pilot lights are working properly, and as long as they can conduct those inspections by having access via the resident themselves, then all the gas service should be turned back on to that unit.
Okay, we might have covered a little bit of this, but maybe you can go into a little bit more detail. How do we handle plants?
Plants. So I would encourage everybody, if you can, for something smaller, like maybe the plant that you see behind me, take it outside as far away from the building as you can possibly get it. Maybe put it inside of the stack garage if you have a stack garage. Anything that you can move, we encourage you to move it. It's not a requirement. If you wanted to just leave your plants altogether and you're okay with them being damaged during the fumigation, that's fine by us. But anything that can be moved should be moved to protect them as much as possible from the fumigation. Anything that does stay behind because it's way too large to move, or because it's planted into the ground and according to the layout of the building, it might end up being covered under the tent during the fumigation. So the best thing you can do for those items that won't be moved but will be fumigated is going to be to overwater those plants heavily starting a few days before the fumigation, and then doing so afterwards. Again, heavy watering, extra nourishment, giving them some extra care. Those plants will be damaged after the fumigation, and they will continue to get worse afterwards, but as long as you're giving them proper nourishment and care before and after, they have a better chance of coming back to their normal stage within a few weeks or months, depending on the plant.
Okay. Does the chemical kill the wood-eating ants as well as the termites, or just the termites? And also, does it kill any subterranean termites?
So it doesn't kill subterranean termites because those termites are not within the building during the fumigation. So they come into the house to eat the wood inside. Once they're done eating, they go right back outside and live underground. And the fumigation doesn't extend underground where those termites are. It is going to kill several other pests. Like, don't be surprised to see some dead spiders, some dead silverfish, maybe something else that you got going on, but we're only guaranteeing that the termites will be dead. So also, that being said, don't be surprised if you see some live spiders, some live roaches or things like that, but you can pretty much assume that all the termites are completely dead.
Okay. One homeowner stated that she's not comfortable with access to my home without me being present. Hence, will the option of a window be provided to give access?
We can't give that option because we want to make sure that we keep the integrity of every single inspection. And what has been happening in the past when other companies have made that accommodation is that there's those little deals that go back and forth with the inspector and say, hey, inspector, I have a safe, but I don't want to open it for you. I'm give you my word that there's nothing in there that shouldn't be. And that's breaking the law, and we can't take those chances.
Okay. How long does the chemical stay in the wood structures in terms of years?
It doesn't stay. So as soon as the tents are gone, as soon as the fumigators are gone after the fumigation, there is no fumigant within the walls.
Okay. Let's see. I have several plants adjacent to the building in flower beds. How far from the foundation do I need to trim them or remove them? Is it a distance from the home or a distance from the roof line? And I'll address, you can go ahead and answer it, but I'll let everyone know. So before each building is scheduled for tenting, First Service sends a work order to Villa Park, our landscape maintenance company, and they will go around the building and trim away any shrubbery or plants so that there's enough space for the tents to go down over the building. So Villa Park will take care of all of our common area shrubbery and plants. And then, Ozzy, if you wanted to speak a little bit more.
Sure. So without knowing the exact layout of all the buildings in the community, I'll just say that maybe 2 or 3 feet of space walking through, like let's say there's a balcony or a patio right here, a patio fence right here, and then maybe a couple of feet over, there's a shrub right there. That should be enough space to get the tent down and then sealed against the ground. However, if there are some plants or vines that are right up against the building, those would require some trimming.
Okay. Will the wood on a wood gate, and this is part of our front patio entry gates, will that be covered by the tenting?
That's also going to depend on the building itself. If it's anything like the building that we've already done.
Yes, and I think we're mainly talking about the townhomes, but it would be exactly just like the one you guys just did.
Got it. That would also now depend on which way the gate swings, because for us to get the tent all the way around the building, that gate is going to stay open. And if the gate opens in a manner that it ends up being within the tent during the fumigation, obviously that gets fumigated. But if the gate swings in a way that it stays on the outer perimeter of the tent, then it won't get fumigated, if that makes sense.
Okay. Let's see. What if the gutters are full of leaves when the house is tented and the chemical is applied? Will the leaves absorb the chemical?
No, they won't.
Okay. Let's see. What happens if it's raining during the tenting?
Normally, if it's just the normal California drizzle, the light rain, maybe not so light, it'll slow the crews down for sure, but we've extremely rarely ever had to cancel due to weather conditions. It's only when we start to get into really high winds, high rains, and then we're worrying about the safety of the guys on the roof. Then, I mean, we keep ourselves updated with weather patterns, and we'll try to keep everybody informed as to what's happening. If you hear nothing from us, then assume the fumigation is still on board.
Okay. How quickly are the termites killed once you guys inject the Vicane gas?
So the gas, depending on a few different things, and it takes a lot of math that I myself don't know, that'll come from the fumigators themselves, but they do take into consideration wind speeds around the building, the temperature of the ground underneath the building, as well as where they lay the hoses, the amount of fumigant that they need to use. That'll determine how long the fumigant needs to stay within the building saturating before they can determine if they got a complete kill of the termites. So that'll normally be at least 12 hours, sometimes even more for bigger buildings, saturation time before they start ventilating the building.
Okay. And I think we spoke briefly about the stack garages in the schedule, Ozzy, but yeah, we have a homeowner who would like to store some of her personal items in the stack garage and have the stack garages tented at a later time. So are you looking at that being a possibility?
Yeah, it looks like that's going to be a very big possibility, actually, to separate the stack garages from the residential buildings themselves. Now, for those residents who have the attached garage, unfortunately, you don't have the same luck. But for everything else, we'll probably push those stack garages to be fumigated once we've gotten through a majority of the residential buildings themselves.
Okay. Can I use plastic that the movers have to wrap around my furniture to protect it from chemicals?
No, that's actually not a good idea, because what that does is it creates more pockets of gas, making it more difficult to ventilate the building.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, I think we addressed this. So at the planters at the entrance of the townhomes, again, any common area landscape is going to be outside of the tenting. Let's see, dryer vents that lead to the outside. Does the chemical enter into the dryer vents?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and so, yeah, and I think you already said, once the termites are dead, we'll expect to see a lot of dead insects all over the ground, the floor, and so on, correct?
Not so much. It depends on the type of infestation you have. So when you come home, don't be surprised to not find any dead insects all over the place. If your home or your building altogether, it's a pretty lightly infested area, then don't expect to see all of that going on, because the termites are going to die exactly where they are right now, which is within the walls. So once they die, they're not crawling out of the building trying to find fresh air. They're just going to die exactly where they are, which is where they're hiding right now.
Okay, so some homeowners are asking, they have large potted plants. And so they're thinking that they may need to hire somebody or have somebody help them move these large potted plants away from the building so that they're not, inside the tent. So if they've got potted plants inside their patios or balconies, then they should move those away from the house.
If they are able to do so, or if they want to have somebody do that for them, that's absolutely fine. If they can't move them for whatever reason, then overwatering is going to help before and after the fumigation.
Okay. And that's about it. As far as questions, we'll kind of hang out here for another moment if somebody else wants to go ahead and enter any questions. Any other final thoughts, Ozzy or Toby?
Yeah, so as far as the security goes, I know it's a big concern. It's a very common concern in every single fumigation, so it's not a surprise to me that somebody's got that worry on their minds.
Mhm.
And one thing I always like to recommend, if you're up for it, is to install Wi-Fi cameras within the home before the fumigation. It gives the homeowner peace of mind of being able to see exactly what's happening inside of the house while they are away. You can watch it from your phone, from your computer. It can be just a couple miles away, or you can be traveling across the country. It's a great tool to have to give yourself peace of mind as a homeowner of what's going on in the house while you're gone.
Okay, and I know if you want to talk just briefly about security alarms, and it's my understanding that most security alarms are done remotely through a phone app or other device. Do you want to go ahead and mention briefly the process for that?
Yeah, so it's going to vary a little bit from fumigation to fumigation. And when I say that, I mean within your community. It depends from building to building what's going on. But there will be, once we know your schedule, we'll know a time where you can remotely arm your security system and then remotely disarm it so that we can finish up and get those tents out of the building and do that final inspection. For any security systems that have to be manually armed and programmed from within the building, the fumigators will not be able to do that for you.
Okay. Okay, and then, yes, just to repeat, so you're going to do your best to fumigate the stack garage buildings at a separate time from the stack condo buildings. And I guess once you confirm that, let me know, and then I can communicate with the stack home owners on that. But it looks like it's a real possibility, it sounds like.
Yeah, honestly, I'd be surprised if we have to fumigate. Let's say that I lived in your community, and I'd be surprised if my house was being fumigated at the same time as my stack garage.
Okay, all right. I think that's about it. I think we got everybody's questions answered, and not seeing any more questions here. So thank you so much, Toby and Ozzy. And then like I mentioned, when we all get our fumigation notice with the scheduled date, you guys are going to have another Zoom meeting for the building residents. So we'll have another opportunity to ask questions and get information from you. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And it could be a combination of a pre-recorded video specific to that phase of fumigation, or to that round of fumigation, we'll call it. And it could also be a live question and answer session, depending on the resources we have available at that time. But we'll give you guys plenty of notice for that. And the cool thing about that website that I should have mentioned earlier is that comment section on the website is going to be an awesome resource for anybody that has any questions. Even now, you can always submit your question as a comment, and that is going to be the fastest way to get an answer. Now, there is a small glitch that was just pointed out to me that you might have to check back into that same website to see if your question was answered within a couple of hours. But we're going to try and set it up to where you get an email once your question has been answered. But for now, just check back in if you have a question.
And I will go ahead and include this on the roof project website, but Accurate Termite has set up a custom website just for our community for the fumigation project. There's lots of information there, as Ozzy mentioned. And then the comments section, I've submitted a few questions there, but that's a great place to submit any follow-up questions. And then Ozzy and his team are really great on quickly answering it. And I do know he's going to check into a minor IT issue where we're supposed to get notified by email when he does post an answer to any of our questions, but I'll go ahead and put this on the roof project website as well as repeat it in future HOA emails. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you everybody for attending.